And the
Thank
Senate
you.
Intelligence Committee has released a report today supporting the intelligence community's conclusion that the Russian government was trying to help then-candidate Donald Trump in the 2016 election. That committee, going against all other known evidence, saying the 2017 intelligence community assessment of Russian interference, quote, reflects proper analytic tradecraft. Now, the Senate Intelligence Committee, it appears, is an arbiter of whether or not our spy agencies know what they're talking about when indulging in tradecraft. This committee also found the fraudulent Steele dossier was only included in a highly classified appendix and did not inform any of the judgments of the intelligence community. Again, despite nearly all of the known evidence. Recently released documents from the Department of Justice, however, clearly show that the Clinton campaign bought and paid for the dossier full of Russian disinformation that was peddled to the United States. The Senate Intel's conclusions were made by a committee. Its former security director, by the way, James Wolfe, leaked the first two Carter Page FISA warrants to the media. Chairman Senator Richard Burr, who spent 3 years now harassing the president, even subpoenaed his son Donald Trump Jr. last year. The vice chairman, Mark Warner, tried to contact Christopher Steele in 2017, texting a lobbyist for a Russian oligarch, asking him for access to Steele. Despite their latest report, that Senate committee still hasn't addressed the question whether anyone on the Trump team colluded with the Russians, which, of course, was the essential question they didn't want to answer because it didn't happen. Well, joining us tonight, the Senate's report contradicting one put out by the House in 2018, which concluded, quote, the intelligence community assessment judgments on Putin's strategic intentions did not employ proper analytic tradecraft. The exact opposite. So how did they come up with such a different opinion? Joining us tonight, Congressman Devin Nunes, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, member of the House Ways and Means Committee. And Congressman, great to have you with us. Let's start with two committees, intelligence committees, and coming up with diametrically opposed conclusions. Your reaction?
Well, I would say that, we have our report. I don't know how they did their report. You have to remember the Democrats in the House of Representatives also opposed our report. So, what do we agree on? We agree that 98% of that intelligence community assessment was fine. But the key is the fact that they used the dossier, which should have never been done, because now you go back and look of what the FBI and the intelligence agencies had in their possession, the Department of Justice. That's why I call this report now, I got only halfway joking, I named it after the famous Clinton Fusion GPS Steele dossier. I call this Obama's dossier because it was written right when Obama was leaving office. And that's and to me, that is a problem. So we went back there. It was put together in like 3 weeks. So just that alone, I think, is suspect. But what we found, Lou, is that the tradecraft was not up to snuff. And now the problem with Obama's dossier, with that intelligence community assessment, is it's either lies or omissions or both. So if the intelligence agencies had a plethora of information and didn't put it into an intelligence community assessment, how can it even be a true intelligence community assessment? So sometimes you just have to apply a little common sense to this. I don't know what happened in the Senate. You'll have to ask them. But we stand by our not only do we stand by what we found, but I would add this too, that one of our criminal referrals involves that intelligence community assessment, in that whether or not intelligence was manipulated for political purposes. And, we've sent that to the Department of Justice now, a year ago.
And do you think that anything will ever come of those referrals?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. But I just want, your audience to know, the House Republicans have not stopped this investigation. So no matter what Pelosi, she can have all the Sub-Zero freezers she wants with all the fancy ice cream. They can put out phony reports, do phony impeachments. Our investigation continues. And I've been very, very clear on this, that we are looking at the three dossiers, okay, which is the Steele dossier, Obama's dossier, and the Mueller report. So those three dossiers or reports. We're also looking to interview 3 Russian Americans. And we're looking at making additional criminal referrals, not only to, and I kind of look at this as 3 different investigations. You have what Durham's looking at. We have a U.S. attorney looking at that. Mm-hmm. We have a U.S. attorney in Missouri that's looking at whether or not the Mueller investigation was done appropriately or not. And then, look, we also need an investigation about why were all these things redacted so long by the Department of Justice and the FBI? Why did we just find out in the last few weeks what was hidden behind the Horowitz report in the footnotes? I mean, there's so much out there for the people that want to follow this. You have about 4 weeks of reading to do right now. And what ticks me off about it is that there was no reason for these to be redacted. And I want answers why these were redacted. So even, people are celebrating the fact that the Carter Page FISAs were put out. But what I can tell you, as we sit here tonight, there is still critical information that is redacted out of those Carter Page FISAs that the Senate, thankfully, the Senate did put those out. But we still need more of that declassified. There's too many things that are hiding from the American public. So the American public is beginning to see what we've known for a very long time. We're not counting on the Department of Justice. We're not counting on the U.S. Senate. We're not counting on Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in the House. We're doing our own investigation. And look, all we can do, though, and this is what frustrates people, we don't have guns. We don't have badges. We can't go and arrest anybody. But we're going to make as much of this known to the American people as possible, and we're going to hold people as accountable as we can, and we're going to make as many criminal referrals as we need to.